Welcome, everyone. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Yes. Well, I'm Dr. Jennifer Linden, President of Hazard Community and Technical College, and I'm pleased to be your MC this afternoon. And before we get going, there are several people in the audience that I would like to recognize. And also, I'm very pleased to see so many people here today. We have a lovely turnout, and there are so many dignitaries here this afternoon, and we really do appreciate it. I would like to recognize Senator Brandon Smith. Thank you for being here, Senator. We also have in the audience Representative Chris Fugit. I think we're having trouble with the mic. On now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And also Donna McClure with Mitch McConnell's office, Senator Mitch McConnell. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We have Jeff Whitehead here with EKSEP. I know Jeff Whitehead somewhere. There he is in the back. Could I have the representatives from Hazard Community and Technical College please stand? We have representatives from Eastern Kentucky University and their board of directors here this afternoon. Could you please stand? We have representatives here from the Wendell Ford Airport Board. Could you please stand? We also have representatives, county and city elected officials from Perry County and Hazard. Could you stand? Perry County Chamber of Commerce. We have Janet Smith and Betsy Clinton. Thank you. And Knox County elected officials, please stand. And also Breathitt County elected officials. So you've seen all of this partnership, and HCTC is very pleased to be a partner along with EKU, ARC, and the Wendell Ford Airport Board for the Aviation Maintenance Technician Program. It's true that through partnerships, our region succeeds. And through partnership, Kentucky has quickly become a leader in the aerospace aviation industry. Aerospace products and parts are the top export in the state of Kentucky. We have additional related industries who are looking into our area, and we have amazing training programs through our four-year colleges, KCTCS, and here at the airport where people can learn to fly. I also want to mention Hazard Community and Technical College's Unmanned Systems Technologies program and Manufacturing Engineering Technology program. These are additional ways that we will forge a place for southeastern Kentucky in aerospace aviation industry in the future. So now, I'm sure you'd like to hear from our partners. Dr. Michael Taft Benson became the 13th president of Eastern Kentucky University on August 1st, 2013. Dr. Benson's presidency has been marked by the university's highest enrollment in decades, record levels of private support for each of the past 3 years, much improved retention and graduation rates, the best academically prepared freshman class in the institution's history, and an ambitious campus revitalization initiative that is transforming the way students live and learn at the university. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael Benson.
Madam President, thank you so much for this beautiful day. What an honor to be here in Hazard.
I know they were recognized, but I want to give a special shout out to a member of our Board of Regents, Nancy Collins, who's been on the board for almost 10 years now, and her husband Paul, who has been on our foundation board for a long time. I want the Collins to please stand and be recognized. I am going to begin with a quote from Wilbur Wright, but before I do that, I have a nephew who's a graduate of the Air Force Academy. He flies a C-17. If you've seen a C-17, it has 4 engines on it. I'm not sure how many pounds of thrust each one produces, but every time I see one of those planes take off, the physics completely confounds me. I have no idea how that plane gets off the ground. Wilbur Wright said this: "I confess that in 1901, I said to my brother Orville that man would not fly for 50 years. While these two men were so correct about so many things, including 3 things that completely befuddled everybody else: lift, thrust, and control. If you know much about aviation, the CIA headquarters in Virginia is named for a gentleman by the name of Langley, and he was federally funded. And you all remember what happened to his first flight there on the Potomac River. Here are these 2 bicycle maker brothers from Dayton, Ohio, with no funding outside of what they self-funded. And they changed the world in the world of aviation. In point of fact, here we are in 2019, and according to the FAA aircraft registry in the state of Kentucky and our neighboring states of Tennessee, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, we are home to 35,000 aircraft. Think about that. These aircraft have to be flown, and they have to be serviced. Today, we are thrilled to launch a program that will help train Kentucky's workforce with a highly sought skill that is relevant to our region's economic industrial growth. Most notably, as was just mentioned, the region's emerging aerospace industry cluster, Kentucky's biggest export. This project will train 86 FAA certified aviation maintenance technicians, AMTs, during the 3-year grant cycle, and then sustain 32 annually. And I want to thank Tim and the ARC for their support. This is a huge investment on their part, and we are so grateful, Tim, so thank you so much. As you will hear today, this project includes stakeholder support across a broad spectrum. Higher education in the form of Eastern Kentucky University, our community college partners, the one here in Hazard, regional airports where we meet today, workforce development, economic development, and city and county support. At EKU, we are proud to be the only 4-year university-based flight program in the state. We were founded in 1983, and we awarded our first bachelor's degree in 1991. In 1992, we had 50 students. This fall, we will welcome more than 260 into our program with a fleet of 15 aircraft, 13 single-engine and 2 twin-engine airplanes. In 2013, just a few days after we arrived in Kentucky, EKU became the 3rd university in America to receive the coveted FAA 1,000 flight-hour restricted ATP authorization. You might ask about our graduation success. Both professional flight concentration graduates and management graduates are hired at a 99% hire rate. That's pretty good. We'll work on that other 1%, but we're not sure what we're doing. I'll end with where I began, and this is another quote from Wilbur Wright. He said this: "It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill." This FAA certified program will be strategically located within Kentucky's Appalachian counties, so those who need training can become certified aviation mechanics without having to leave their communities and their family support systems. We are so proud as a university to support with knowledge and skill, just like Wilbur Wright said, those in the sky and those on the ground with this program. Thank you very much for your support and for being here today, and go Colonels. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Benson. There's another person in the crowd today that we definitely need to recognize, and that is Commissioner Sandy Donahue. And Commissioner Donahue, we really appreciate all of your efforts here in southeastern Kentucky You've worked with us on many projects for workforce and economic development. And if you don't know, she hails from Lee County, so I think she has a special place for Southeast Kentucky in her heart. But we appreciate all the work that you and your office does. Following his nomination by President Donald Trump in January 2018, Tim Thomas was sworn in as the Appalachian Regional Commission's 12th federal co-chair on April 3, 2018. As federal co-chair, Thomas works directly with ARC's 13-member governors, their state alternates, and program managers, and a network of local development districts to continue creating economic opportunities in the Appalachian region's coal-impacted communities, support small business and entrepreneurial development in rural Appalachia, and address the region's opioid crisis. Mr. Thomas hails from Western Kentucky, and he received his bachelor's degree from Murray State and his law degree from U of L. And I can personally attest to the help that the ARC has given those of us in Central Appalachia, because without the help of the ARC, many of our projects at HCTC would not have been possible. So now we'll hear from Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Linden. Thank you for that introduction, and good to see you again. We see each other quite often. I don't know what you know about ARC, but we are very engaged with our community college network throughout Appalachia. We actually helped launch a number of years ago a collective entity called the Community Colleges of Appalachia, and the Kentucky Community and Technical Colleges are very active in that group. So it's good to see you again. Good to be here in Eastern Kentucky, and I want to thank the governor and certainly President Benson, and of course our good friend Congressman Rogers for being here and for their support of ARC and its work. Of course, the governor is one of the 13 member governors of the commission. And what can I say about Congressman Rogers? He's one of the people that makes sure that ARC has the resources and tools that it needs to meet the evolving challenges of Appalachia. So thank you, Congressman Rogers, for that. Today we are here to talk about the Power Initiative, and the grant, actually an investment from the Power Initiative right here. Since 2015, the Power Initiative has invested nearly $150 million in communities much like this one across Appalachia. The purpose of the Power Initiative is to help communities that have been impacted by the changes in the energy sector. And we are investing in programs across the spectrum of a diverse economy to help those communities deal with this challenge and thrive and diversify their local economies. Now, power grants are actually awarded through a very competitive process. They are competitive across the region. No state has an allocation. All the states that have been impacted by changes in the coal economy are eligible to apply. And the demand has been intense. This project that we're talking about today actually beat out dozens of other projects to be funded. We would like to be able to fund all of them, but no resources are unlimited. We actually had in the round that this project competed in actually had over 100 applications, and we were able to select and award funds to fewer than 20 of those. So I want to say this speaks to the preparation and diligence and quality of the team that worked on this project and submitted this proposal to ARC. So that said, we are now pleased to announce an investment of just under $1.5 million in a great program right here in Eastern Kentucky, with Eastern Kentucky University being the lead applicant, but also supported by Hazard Community and Technical College and Big Sandy Community and Technical College to establish a regional aviation maintenance technical course of study at several of their campuses. Now, these programs address a need for the region and will bring more trained, credentialed professionals into the local workforce, which will support growth in the transportation sector and across the regional economy. Now, a recent Department of Labor study showed that 4 out of 5 of the fastest growing fields in the American workforce require more than a high school diploma, but do not require a bachelor's degree. The requirement for workers who have this kind of job-specific technical training and education is growing. And to address it, we need to continue to invest in these types of programs, which provide a skill set and a certification and set up students for a successful, rewarding career. And these programs do translate into careers, not just jobs. And I must say, you can't say that about a lot of perhaps more prestigious name brand degrees that are out there. And I believe one of the things that we do in this country is to challenge our young people to better themselves. But one of the ways that perhaps we have been falling short is by trying to limit their options. For too long, we have been trying to send every high school graduate wanting to further their education to a 4-year program, rather than provide them with different options so that they can choose the education choice that works best for them, which suits their needs and interests. Programs like these are correcting that false choice which we have been presenting. This is a course of study which is intellectually challenging, leads to an in-demand career, and can better suit those who don't want to spend time and money on another type of education. And I'm proud that investments like this can have a positive effect on students in Eastern Kentucky, and I think it's important to recognize the people in our region who are finding ways to train the next generation for good jobs in growing fields. So I thank my hosts, I thank the other guests on the platform today, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this great investment. Thank you for the opportunity, and it is always nice to be back in my home state to make an announcement in which ARC has been involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Another person who has been critical to growth and sustainability in Appalachia is Congressman Rogers. Congressman Rogers is currently serving his 20th term and is the longest-serving Kentucky Republican ever elected to federal office. Congressman Rogers established the SOAR, Shaping Our Appalachian Region initiative in office, and through SOAR has tackled numerous topics facing Appalachia today: education, economic development, poverty. He has waged a war on illegal drugs in our area through Operation Unite and has worked to make the area more beautiful through his Pride initiative. He has recently worked closely with abandoned mine lands to fund economic development projects throughout the coal fields. He truly has the good of Southeast Kentucky at heart, and I'm honored to introduce him today, Congressman Rogers.
Yes, all, it's a pleasure to be here on a beautiful Monday afternoon after a wet weekend. Speaking of Orville and Wilbur Wright, do you know what Orville Wright's last words were to his partner who was piloting the plane? You know what Orville's last words were? Pedal, Wilbur, pedal. Great occasion. It's always a pleasure being here and seeing some really good friends. And today we are in Perry County with the governor and the president of Eastern Kentucky University to announce a very, very special thing. The new Digital Careers Now Hub at Hazard Community and Technical College, where General Dynamics is creating 40 new jobs for local people to work with U.S. citizenship and immigration services. The new Cancer Center at Hazard ARH, where life-saving work is advancing every day. We broke ground, as you know, on the new Coalfield Regional Industrial Park, where job recruitment is actively underway. Today, we're standing at the pinnacle of mountaintop development in the heart of the coal fields, and the future is more exciting than ever before. All of the nearby progress makes this airport so much more important. You know what they say, no plane, no game. And that's especially true in our rural area where access is vital for job creation and economic development. I've heard Governor Bevin say, quote, the most important mile of action that a business leader might see could be that of an airport runway. And he's right about that. And today we might add the most important person is a business leader might see could be that of an aviation mechanics technician. Regional airport directors report that aviation mechanics in our region are currently overbooked, and they're turning away airplane maintenance work, forcing those owners to send those planes to other places outside of our region. We can't afford it. An average annual salary is over $61,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we want to keep as much of that work here at home as we can, thus this program. Eastern Kentucky's new AMT program not only develops a whole new workforce branch for our region, it also raises the bar for economic development by ensuring our rural airports are operated with a higher efficiency and safety standard than ever before. I want to applaud Tim Thomas and the Appalachian Regional Commission for this grant, and to EKU President Dr. Benson and the Hazard President Dr. Jennifer Linden for realizing the value that this program will add to economic development in our region. These jobs are clearly in high demand. They're expected to increase another 11% over the next decade. So our people should be doing this work right here at home, and thankfully these new AMT schools will prepare our students to step into a field full of opportunity. I want to thank Jeff Whitehead. Where are you, Jeff?
Yes, thank you. Jeff and his team at Eastern EKSIP, big partner in this initiative as well. Jeff does a whale of a good job with worker training in our region, and he is a tremendous asset. This new program works in concert with the mission of SOAR, Shaping Our Appalachian Region, an initiative which Governor Bevin and I serve as co-chairs to revitalize the economy of the entirety of eastern and southern Kentucky. We have the best workforce in the country. I hear it from employers here that have plants elsewhere in the country. And they tell me that the work ethic of the people they hire here is the highest of any place in the country. Now, I know that, and you know that, but it's good that other people are realizing it. Because we want to satisfy our employers so that we don't keep our job, so we can stay here in the place that we love. One of the uniting factors on every front of economic development is airports. From hosting company execs, joint readiness operations for our National Guard, exporting products to make our region more accessible. Aerospace and high-speed, high-capacity broadband. Subject that you've heard me preach on interminably. Two of the most vital elements of our future in southern and eastern Kentucky. This program will help harness the power of both of those, paving the way for a brighter future in our region. The sky's the limit for what we can do with these students that will go through this training program here at home and enable them to keep their families here, stay here, and enjoy life as we know it in this beautiful part of the world. Thanks to Governor Bevin, many of our rural airports have received an infusion of support for improvements across the board, and he's heightened awareness about opportunities in aerospace technology. In fact, we've made a number of grant announcements together during his administration to ensure that Eastern Kentucky remains on the forefront of economic development. And he loves Eastern Kentucky, spends a lot of time here. A chance for me to be with him a lot as well, which I appreciate.
He's an Eastern Kentucky type person. He cares for his family, he cares for his country, he loves his God, and he wants a better life for all of Kentucky. He's the top salesperson for our state. He does not neglect our region. He's relentless. He does not quit. I want you to help me welcome our governor, Matt Bevin.
Some of you are probably wishing that among the dollars we poured into the various airports was not the resurfacing with fresh black resurfacing material. This particular part we're sitting on at this point, as it starts to get a bit warm. But what a beautiful day! I mean, really and truly, how blessed we are to be Kentuckians. To be here in Eastern Kentucky on a day like today. Not many places in the world that literally experience the kind of day, weather-wise, sun-wise. This is just magical. It really is a beautiful, beautiful place. There's a verse in Psalms you're probably familiar with. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And I'll tell you, we have so much to rejoice in here today. This is a big deal. This is a huge announcement. Because it isn't just the idea of another program, and you are doing the things you're doing at HCTC are remarkable. They really are. And I do feel like I might live here now. I've spent so much time here. And some of you are probably aware that when I was first elected, the very first place I ever came as governor was here to Perry County, to this community. And it was as a result of several things. There wasn't any specific promise that I had made. But I'll tell you what, I was struck by something that I was told that day by somebody. It really was done just because I appreciated the caliber of the people, the work ethic, these very things that the congressman just spoke to. The respect for God and country and a work ethic and give an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. People who are loyal to their families and to their communities and who just want opportunity, want to stay in the places that they love and create a future and live the American dream. Simple things, things that most Americans aspire to. And I was struck by something that on that day that I came back when I was a brand new governor, first political job I've ever had in my life, there was a gentleman who I had met on a previous time when I had been here as a candidate, and I'd gone in to see his business. And as I went by, after I spoke on the day that I was now governor, I stopped back by and saw this gentleman just for a moment before I left town. And I met with him and some of his employees. And he said something to me, almost to himself, but it was to me, but not in a way that anyone else could hear, and I barely heard it. But as we were walking out, he said, you know, a lot of people come here. A lot of people come here when they're running for office. He said, you're the first one that ever came back. Kind of made me a little sad, to be honest with you. It's sad to me because I grew up in a community like this. Very rural, very mountainous, not a lot of opportunity, seemingly. But all the things that we just mentioned. And it's interesting because I grew up in northern New Hampshire, very rural county. A lot of politicians come through New Hampshire, especially once every 4 years. A lot of promises are made. Very few of any of them ever come back unless they're running for something again. I never wanted to be that person. Never wanted to be a person who came and pretended to be for something, do something, what have you, and never come back. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that this is a community that cares when the flag falls over, literally. Seriously. I mean, seriously, you don't even realize how many places in this country people would be like, hopefully someone will get it. But here when you have multiple people that say, listen, that's not appropriate. We respect our nation. I'm grateful that we have a president in the White House that respects this nation, that loves America. I'm grateful to be friends. Think about this. When this congressman first became elected, I mean, when this effort that he has brought to this community first began back in the early 80s, I'd never even flown in an airplane. I was in high school. I had never even flown in an airplane. To be blessed to now be in this state as the governor, be able to pour into the very infrastructure that is that first mile. Why is it that first mile is so important? For many, it's the first mile they'll ever see of Kentucky. I want it to be freshly asphalted. I want it to be in good condition. I want them to put down and be surprised by the quality of the amenities and the caliber of the people that they meet.
I want them to be upside surprised by what they see, so that I want them to see hangars that are full, and I want them to see utilities that are available to them, and I want them to see development, and I want them to see the energy, the types of which was just mentioned. I want them to think we want to be a part of this, to tap into that workforce. These things happen, they come out of ideas that people have and passion that people pour in. They don't happen overnight, they don't happen quickly. So grateful to President Benson, to EKU, to the partnership with HCTC, their willingness to do new things. When I was first elected, I said I want to see outcomes. I don't want just to encourage everybody to go off to school. I want people to have jobs. I want them to have opportunities. I want them to have better lives. And I'm grateful that this university president said, what can we do to scale up things that are needed? This program, this Aviation Maintenance Technician program, AMT certification, there is going to be, between now and the next 20 years, a need for 118,000 new AMTs in America. 118,000 in the United States alone. It's a position that could go anywhere in the world, but here in this country, 118,000 in the next 20 years. By the year 2022, we will already be behind the 8 ball. We will already have fewer people doing this than we have need. This is a program that from this community is going to start to stand in the gap. There are 2 FAA licensed facilities in Kentucky right now that currently certify people with the AMT skills that are needed. They produce, between the 2 of them, including Eastern Kentucky, about 30 graduates a month. Think about this. 350, 360 folks a year from Kentucky. Here we are, this epicenter of so much that's happening in terms of the center of the universe from a logistics standpoint. And yet we have only 350 or 60 folks a year coming into a program that in the next 20 in America is going to need 118,000. There are no amount of people who will be trained in these jobs in this community in the weeks, months, and years ahead that are not going to be gainfully employed for a lifetime. And while indeed the average is $61,000 a year now, you wait until we see that 2022 year, or whatever month of the year or year it happens to be, but a couple of years down the road when there's more demand than there is supply, that 61,000 will be 71,000, will be 81,000, will be 91,000. That is real money, and people are going to increasingly go to where the talent is. And we know in this part of the world, like it is in a lot of rural mountainous communities, including even the one I grew up in, people would rather stay home. People would rather stay where they're from. They don't want to be like I was. I left when I was 18 to find opportunity. I'm tired of hearing people say our kids have to go somewhere else to get a job. I want to have so many AMTs here that people say, well, heck, I got to get my plane service somewhere. I guess we're going to be putting a location in Hazard. We're going to put a location in Perry County or any one of these other surrounding counties. They're going to go to where the talent is, and the talent's going to go to where the quality of life is. So I'm grateful for this. All these things start with somebody putting a seed in the ground, taking an opportunity. We've heard a couple of quotes, and others have referenced this fellow by the name of Wilbur Wright. We all know Wilbur Wright's name. Do you realize that Wilbur Wright died just a month and a half after he turned 45? 45 years old when he died. Why do we all know his name? Because in a fairly short life, he lived a powerfully influential life. He took risks. He did things that other people talked about. And this fellow Langley that was supported by government, $50,000, which was a lot back then, the government was pouring into one guy, and meanwhile another guy and his brother, who have a little bicycle shop, they were out there just doing it on their own. Those are the kind of people that come from communities just like this. They really do. The number of people who've come out of Eastern Kentucky is unbelievable. I want the world to come in here and find us. I want us to go out and find the world. But I want us to always be able to come home again. I was asked when I first was elected what I would hope when I was long gone that people would remember about my time as governor. And what I said then, I have said every time since then I've been asked. What I want when I'm gone, I want the governors of Tennessee and Texas and Florida and North Carolina and wherever else. I want the governors of all those states to wonder why all their kids have to go to Kentucky to get a job. That's what I want. It's not. Why not? It's absolutely possible. So we're going to, through programs programs like this, we're going to train people for the jobs that are needed. We're going to do it with the skill and the talent that we have, and we're going to set the world on fire because we are Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you all again for coming out this afternoon, and we appreciate everyone's support. And again, it is through partnerships and working together that programs like this will continue to be possible. Thank you.
Yes, very.